So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the letter that I sent to the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the CLPT, Office of Civil Liberties, Privacy, and Transparency. So, here's the letter. Dear friends, thank you for taking the time to read my letter. I really appreciate it. My name is Nisim R. Lopez. I'm a 43-year-old Cuban-American artist based in Miami, Florida. I am a U.S. citizen. I am contacting you in order to denounce a hideous crime that is being perpetrated against me here in the United States. Contract stalking sponsored by governmental institutions. Yes, I am a targeted individual. I've been experiencing organized community harassment sponsored by the authorities since January of 2011. This thing ruined my life. You might be saying to yourself, what exactly is organized stalking? Well, this is not easy to explain. One could say that contract stalking is bullying on steroids. Organized stalking, covert harassment, or community-based mobbing is pretty much a form of political repression, extrajudicial punishment. Organized stalking is a secret program of the U.S. government designed to destroy targeted individuals emotionally and psychologically through dark neuro-linguistic programming and negative aversive stimuli. We're talking here about state-sponsored psychological terrorism in the name of social engineering. And before I continue, yes, I know there are good people in the FBI. Yes, there are good people working in the fusion centers. Yes, there are good people in the police. I understand this. But the bottom line is, the cabal is behind a targeted individual program and they are destroying lives. No question about it. As far as the organized community harassment done to me every single time I go out into the general public, the unjust systematic harassment is done by a group of people in an organized fashion using unethical means to torment, preoccupy, agitate, intimidate, and terrorize the isolated victim 24/7 no matter where he goes. Community-based mobbing done by civilians, based on choice reference patterns. The targeted individual is exposed to a stressor outside the range of usual human experience. He is terrorized 365 days a year, 24/7. He is kept in a state of anxiety and hypervigilance until he finally breaks down after years of indescribable psychological abuse. Most victims of this program end up homeless, in jail, or in psychiatric institutions, discredited with no support system, broken in spirit. Once a targeted individual is labeled as mentally unfit, his credibility is out of the window. Overall, organized stalking is a secret, illegal, long-term, unconstitutional surveillance program designed to neutralize politically incorrect freethinkers that are labeled as undesirables, even if they are innocent, harmless, law-abiding citizens that pose no real threat to anyone. So, who are the perps recruited by the authorities that constantly harass the targeted individual in an organized fashion? Well, they are called surveillance role players, or citizens on patrol. They believe they are patriots and heroes serving a noble cause. They come from all types of social backgrounds. We're talking here about men, women, old, young, rich, poor, etc. Most of them are bottom feeders. These people are brainwashed into believing that the target is a really bad person, a terrorist, a murderer, or a sex offender, like a rapist or a child molester. We're talking here about a professional character assassination campaign, a clandestine civil military operation, basically law enforcement and the intelligence community using the civilian sector as irregular forces. Keep in mind that the targeted individual is also subjected to directed energy weapons and other forms of psychological torture. I'm talking about remote neuro-influencing. In our modern days, the government has access to a sophisticated technology known as transcranial stimulation. Some call it synthetic telepathy. You know, this secret technology enables the guys in fusion centers, for example, to insert thoughts, words, phrases, images, impulses, dream videos, etc. into the target psyche, especially if the highly traumatized victim is in an altered state, in a state of functional disorientation. We're talking here about a system of neurocognitive warfare, trauma-based mind control. All the experiences of the targeted individual are stored in a supercomputer that predicts behavior based on past choices. The computer literally resonates with the biofrequency of the target, neuro nanotechnology. We're talking here about a reverse engineering behavioral modification program, a military experiment, non-therapeutic, non-consensual human experimentation. So, on one hand, we got heavy, overwhelming, multi-layered harassment, then black ops neuro weapons capable of depriving a person of sleep, a perfected breakdown tactic on the human will. Who is behind this? Well, excuse me, as I mentioned before, corrupt folks that work for the government. Everything seems to indicate that the mighty FBI of John Edgar Hoover is behind this. The folks in fusion centers are behind this. The local police is involved, of course. One way or another, all the institutions of state are complicit in this insane vigilante operation known as covert organized stalking. Not so long ago, the State Department spokeswoman Elizabeth Trude acknowledged that the Russian intelligence was using unethical means in order to harass U.S. diplomats in Russia. Not so long ago, mainstream media legitimized the experience of the U.S. diplomats in Cuba and in China who experienced sonic attacks, microwave weapons. But if I say that I am being unjustly and systematically harassed in America by people who work for the government, then I am delusional and paranoid. I'm a conspiracy theorist, right? So, my dear friends, basically I am contacting you to see if you can help me expose these domestic terrorists who are behind the targeted individual program. I want tranquility. I want peace. I want these corrupt people to leave me alone. Is that too much to ask? As far as the remote neuro-influencing technology that I previously mentioned, if you would like more information about it, I would like for you to go to YouTube and watch the presentations of the disruptive neuroscientist Dr. James Giordano, PhD of Georgetown University. He explains how these black ops neuro weapons work, AAA, access, assess, and affect, So I'm not some crazy drug addict guy talking about science fiction. This phenomenon is real. I mean, my life has been destroyed. They obliterated my mental health with this classified torture program. I would like to respectfully clarify. I'm not trying to insult you with this letter. I am not trying to antagonize you in a subliminal way. I am not trying to be confrontational. And no, I am not trying to demonize the government. I am very grateful that I've been given the great opportunity to come to America. I'm very proud of the American flag. I just want these corrupt, evil people in positions of authority to stop harassing me. I am not a criminal. I am not a terrorist. I am not a serial killer. And I am not a sex offender. I'm just an artist into old school heavy metal rock. These folks in law enforcement that are recruiting civilians in order to harass me left and right, they are spreading a false narrative so that people will hate me. They've been doing this crap since January of 2011. I ask you the following. How would you feel if you would know that corrupt people in positions of power are going around in your neighborhood telling people that you are a terrorist, a serial killer, a rapist, or a child molester? A defamation campaign. This is how they recruit citizens on patrol that will be willing to mess with you every time you are in the general public. I'm talking about street theater, noise campaigns, acts of provocation, mimicking, rude behavior, verbal breakdown, invasion of space, engineered collisions, orchestrated synchronicities, entrapment, etc. This is the kind of thing I've been experiencing since January of 2011 until now. We're in January of 2019. It's been a while. And then, I give them some examples of, this kind of thing. And I close the letter with this, basically. As I mentioned before, this organized stalking thing has been going on since January of 2011. Years of my life lost. I know that as you read this, maybe you're wondering, who pulled the strings so that you will be placed in this program? Well, it's a very long and complicated story. Some influential people in Miami, Florida pulled the strings so that I would be crucified through this torture program. So here's a summary of what these devils are doing to me. Number one, unjust, systematic, organized community harassment, stalking, non-stop 24/7, 365 days a year, every time I'm in the general public. Negative aversive stimuli and dark neurolinguistic programming. This is designed to cause a nervous breakdown in the long run. Number two, trauma-based mind control technology, remote neuro-influencing. Every time I go to sleep, they use synthetic telepathy in order to implant disgusting, unnatural stuff, words, phrases, images, and dream videos into my psyche. The idea behind this is to make me believe that those are my real thoughts when they are not. They are raping my mind with these electronic assaults, a reverse engineering behavioral modification program. Basically, these corrupt pieces of shit behind this sick program are raping my mind every day. When I go into the streets, they got agent provocateurs messing with me everywhere. And when I go to sleep, they got folks in fusion centers that are getting paid to rape my mind with neuro weapons. How nice, right?